Spotlight, coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa on Channel Africa from an African perspective. I'm Lulu Gaboo. I'm in studio with Jwalani Tulongwepe, Figile Lingwati and Tabiso Lehoko. Coming up in this hour.
The car does not have a disc. He does not have a license. As you can see now, it's a moving coffin.
Dozens of undocumented migrants have been arrested during a major raid in Johannesburg in South Africa's Gauteng province.
It identifies their success areas. From the index, we can see where are the areas of excellence for different governments.
And the Chandler Good Government Index 2025 Africa Regional launch unpacked what it takes to build high-performing governments in Africa. All this and more coming up at after the news with Jwalani Tulongwepe and our sports headlines with Figile Lingwati.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Lulu, good day. Gender and governance expert Dr. Ditlhare Rabela says due to safety concerns, more women will fear to participate as candidates in the forthcoming municipal elections in South Africa. She was speaking at the IEC event themed Women Championing Democracy, paving the way to 2026 local government elections. The gathering is attended by women in influential positions, including politicians, media practitioners, gender activists and academics, among others. Dr. Rabela says more women fear for their safety in a male-dominated and violent political space at local sphere of government.
I have done a lot of research on women, peace and security and how lack of security affect women's participation in elections. A recent example of the attack on former KZN Premier, attack on her house. What does that say to other women aspiring cash cow for politicians?
Media Monitoring Africa says cases aimed at silencing investigative journalism focused on exposing corruption in the private and public sectors are increasingly becoming common. The High Court in Johannesburg, South Africa, will today hear an urgent application by businessman and philanthropist Colin Mashawana. He will face off in court against the prominent news publication Daily Maverick and journalist Peter Louis Myburgh. Mashawana is seeking an urgent gag order to halt the outlet's reports on alleged corruption tied to him and his foundation. He claims the Daily Maverick's articles are defamatory and aimed at publicly shaming him. Media Monitoring Africa Director William Bird.
Very often these efforts are made in order to try and silence and censor the journalists. This is otherwise known as a weaponization of the courts. This is strategic litigation against public participation, and that's effectively where you have a powerful person that seeks to try and use the law in order to stop and censor someone or a group of people from going out there and telling their story. And so it seems to be completely outrageous that you've got someone who's in a position of power who's been exposed for wrongdoing, who's instead of trying to spin it their own way, it's going and threatening media and trying to silence them. It also seems utterly futile to be doing it in a context where the story's already out there.
Political parties in Botswana have reacted differently to the declaration of the state of public health emergency in the landlocked country. President Duma Boko made the announcement yesterday following widespread reports of shortage of medical supplies in public clinics and hospitals. Government has set up a fund worth a little over 6 billion rands and tasked Botswana Development Corporation with the responsibility of securing that amount through local and international investments. The first batch of medical supplies left the capital Gaborone, going to remote areas where soldiers will be responsible for the distribution. Dr. Alfred Madikele of Botswana Democratic Party says this shows a collapse of governance in the country.
This has compromised our fight against HIV/AIDS. It has compromised our fight against NCDs, as this has been demonstrated by lack of access to proper services. The government has been sitting on this problem since the beginning of this year. We are not talking about like a natural disaster or a pandemic like COVID. We are talking about man-made problems emanating from lack of structure, lack of coordination and lack of control. Our position is the government would want to suspend laws to do what they want to do. This should have gone through parliament like previously when this was done. It had to go through parliament.
However, Dr. Patrick Mulutsi of the Umbrella for Democratic Change has welcomed the decision by government.
The background to this is that we have been running short of medicines for quite a number of months. This is the problem that emanates from the time the UDC government came to power, and fundamentally we have been short of a number of critical items, including medicines. So the president's step is a fundamental one, very important to alleviate the situation which was deteriorating in our health facilities and hospitals.
For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Jolani Tulo-Wepe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Our sports headline, Morocco has booked its place in the final of the CHAN tournament in a dramatic fashion. The 2026 Masters tournament will invite the winner of the South African Open. I'll be back with these and other stories at the bottom of the hour.
Your window to the continent and beyond. Africa Update. Only on Channel Africa. Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
It is 12:06 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Well, thank you to Jwalani Tulo with our news update and Figile Ngwati with our sports headlines. We're coming to you live in Johannesburg on DSTV's audio bouquet channel 802, OpenView channel 628, and on www.channelafrica.co.za, as well as on the SABC Plus app, available on the Apple and Google Play stores. Now, today we're going to do things slightly differently. We're going to start with our question of the day, where on hashtag Africa Updates asks, we focus on South Africa's Constitutional Court having dismissed an application by the family of Zambia's former president, the late Edgar Lungu, challenging a High Court ruling ordering the repatriation of Lungu's remains to Zambia. Now, our question to you is, what do you make of the ruling by South Africa's Constitutional Court? Now, with that, we do have all our social media platforms for you to just voice your thoughts and your comments on these platforms. That's on X and Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send them on +2763, that's 406 9126, hashtag Africa Update Ask. And we do have response from our viewers, our listeners across the board, and we're going to start with one where on WhatsApp where they're saying, I'd like to share my thoughts about the Constitutional Court ruling about the Lungu family funeral feud. The family must have a human mind and humble themselves. ECL must be buried in Zambia. They're only politicking out of hatred and ruining their own reputation and dignity. And on Facebook, we have Langtone Kamwaza, who says, let him rest well in his country despite disagreement. And on Facebook, Felix Kadiampakeni says, South African court, right judgment. So these are just some of the comments that have come through since we started this morning, and we want to hear more from you. On Facebook, Frederick Shawa says, good judgment, we are waiting for the body. So continue sending your thoughts and your views on this saga that continues to unfold. It is 9:12 Central African time.
AUSISA, the Association of Water and Sanitation Institution of South Africa, is a platform uniting Africa's water professionals. This November, Africa leads the conversation on water and sanitation. Join global and African leaders at the AUSISA Africa and Global South Dialogue 2025 from the 9th till the 12th of November at the Emperor's Palace, Johannesburg. From policy innovation, this is where action meets collaboration for a water-secure future. Register today at ausisa-watersan-dialogue.org or follow at AUSISA on social media. AUSISA, working together for sustainable water and sanitation security in Africa.
It is 10 after 12 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. The KZN Convention Bureau, in collaboration with Millvest Advisory and the city of Umhlathuze, bring you the 2025 Tourism Investment Forum Africa. As a global platform for local action, the Tourism Investment Forum Africa aims to promote secondary and tertiary cities and regions as attractive investment and tourism hubs. I'll be part of the movement transforming tourism investment in Africa. Join us for the TIFA 2025 from the 27th of August to the 29th at Tembela Venue, Richards Bay, KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa.
Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine, weekdays 6 till 9.
Former politician and diplomat, he's the leader of the Democratic Alliance Party at one stage, and also served as South Africa's ambassador to Argentina, Uruguay and Paraguay. Ambassador Tony Leon, if you were party leader now and in the GNU, what would you be pushing for?
I can speak with some direct experience because, as you might know, I was actually one of the negotiators of the GNU last year when it was formed. What I'd be pushing for is to hold the government or the president's feet to the fire on actually operationalizing the agreement that was implemented. Unfortunately, that agreement has been honored only in its breach. And I think, go back to basics and just say, okay, we're not going any further with this arrangement until we actually implement these steps.
Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine. Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
Well, it is 12 after 12 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. The 27th Interpol African Regional Conference is underway in Cape Town in the Western Cape province of South Africa today. The president of Interpol, Major General Ahmed Nasir Al-Raisi, and South Africa's acting police minister, Professor Feroz Kachalia, will host a three-day conference. And to speak to us further, we are joined on the line by a former Interpol South Africa Ambassador Andy Mashaila. Andy, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon to you, Lulu, and to the wonderful listeners of your show.
Now, what can we expect to come out from this three-day conference with what we're seeing in terms of the crime levels, not only in South Africa, but just across the African continent? But seemingly, South Africa has sort of become a hub of a lot of wrongdoing.
Lulu, yes, you're quite correct. South Africa is not only a transit country or a transit point in the operations of the transnational organized crime. It is also a source of a transnational organized crime. Our people go out of our country, meaning South Africans go and commit crimes or work with transnational organized crime syndicates elsewhere and harbor fugitives in our country. Talking about transnational organized crime, Lulu, we expect from the conference better policies, better operational cooperations between South Africa and the continent. Remember, this is a regional Interpol conference. And we have learned that at the end of these few days of the conference, a committee, an African committee of Interpol is going to be established, what you and I would refer to as Afripol, because you might know that there's what we call Europol. Going back to what the expectations would be, you are looking at new ways of handling cyber criminals, new ways of handling organized crimes in human trafficking, arms trafficking, terrorism, drug trafficking, trafficking in children, and trafficking in women, as we have seen those influencers targeting 18 to 22-year-olds. That would be trafficking in women, and disappointing that in South Africa, influencers not respecting Women's Month, and women's rights. So this conference has a lot of serious concern to look at, so that crime not only in South Africa, around Africa, the 54 countries, it is targeting the reduction of crime. And you and I have seen the stats that were released yesterday, that crime is on the increase.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's in terms of crime being on the increase, where are we getting it wrong?
A number of things, Lulu. It's not the police that must control crime, as well as participation of the communities. The one other thing that is key would be the economy of the day. When the economy is stagnant, when the economy is not yielding performance that would lead to new companies being established, new job opportunities coming into play, crime will be on the increase. Whether we like it or not, people will not steal the heater in my mom's house or the plasma in your house for the purposes of buying Nyaupe only. Some money will go into buying half a loaf of bread or a loaf of bread for that addict, for that individual to eat, or for that group of men to provide for their children, looking at the expenses in terms of your home economics and upbringing of children. So it's a kaleidoscope of factors, or a myriad of factors that would lead to crime being on the increase. Key and critical would be a criminal justice cluster. It's in shambles. Both you and I know. We have learned of a national, a provincial prosecutor being suspended, Mr. Andrew Chauke, and amongst others. And we have seen police officers being arrested in the commission of crime. And we have seen General Ntantam Kwanazi indicating that there is part of law enforcement that is controlled by organized crime.
You know, what's also interesting, and I think I don't know whether people are paying attention or seeing it, but in most of these crimes where you find that whether it's drug related or some drug kingpin has been arrested and so on, most times you'll find that what is being reported is that in their previous lives, they were police officers.
Lulu, some of them in their previous lives were police officers. It is only a small number, but very rotten to the core and very dangerous and very satanic in terms of violating people's rights from a safety and security point of view. Let's tell you why, Lulu. When you operate and you do patrolling in Community A or Alex and Community D being Deep Slot, or Community C being Carltonville, or B being Beckersdale, or K being Kagiso, you realize that those police officers, one, majority of them are not from those communities. Two, even when they would have committed crime, it would not be easy to identify them. Three, over the weekends when they are off duty, they go to taverns, places of entertainment to relax. That's where criminals get hold of them, buy them a beer or two, establish a relationship. At the end of the day, give this gentleman 5,000. When you go home, you must go and buy whatever. And from then, that's how criminals hook them. That's why you would find that they are involved in crime themselves or protecting criminals, drug dealers, car hijackers, and many of these evils of society.
Now, Andrew, just in wrapping up very briefly, what has come out from previous conferences that has impacted the continent?
The agreements of the last 2 years have yielded better results in terms of arresting cyber criminals. You remember Operation Serengeti from June to August. having established, dismantled huge operations, made huge recoveries of the victims of online scams, business email compromise, and many others, which is a crime that is on the increase, cyber crime. And we have seen cooperation in terms of the arrest of a certain Mr. Thabo Bester being extradited back to South Africa from Tanzania. These are some of the serious high-level examples that I would bring to the table.
Yeah.
Generally, there has been cooperation, but there's also been flaws somewhere, somehow. Early this morning, I was also on some interview, and I saw General Ntantampwana saying KZN had a good relationship with Mozambique or South Africa. And with the change of political leadership, those relationships, operational relationships, sort of went by the wayside. So these are some of the things that the conference must look at in terms of renewing policies, looking at what was successful and what were the challenges and how to improve.
Well, Andy, it's always a pleasure chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update. That was former Interpol South Africa's ambassador Andy Mashaila joining us to take this further. Joining us on the line is Dr. Ntsikelelo Breakfast, who is the acting director of the Center for Security, Peace and Conflict. All right, Dr. Breakfast he will be joining us shortly, but let's take this quick spot break.
Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802. The KwaZulu-Natal Convention Bureau, in collaboration with Milvest Advisory and the city of Umhlathuze, bring you the 2025 Tourism Investment Forum Africa. As a global platform for local action, the Tourism Investment Africa aims to promote the secondary and tertiary cities and regions as attractive investment and tourism hubs. Be part of the movement transforming tourism in Africa. Join us for the TIFA 2025 from August 27 to 29 at Tembela Venue, Richards Bay, KZN, South Africa. Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
Well, we come back to this major story where the 27th Interpol African Regional Conference is underway in Cape Town in the Western Cape province of South Africa. And earlier on, I was speaking to former Interpol South Africa's ambassador Andy Mashaila. And now joining us to discuss this further is Dr. Ntsikelelo Breakfast, who is the acting director of the Center for Security, Peace and Conflict Resolution at the Nelson Mandela University. Dr. Breakfast, good afternoon. And thank you for joining us on Africa Update. Dr. Breakfast, are you there? All right, we seem to be having some sort of a glitch. We will try and get him on the line just to get to know what the expectation is coming from this regional Interpol Africa Conference, which is underway. It's starting today. And as Dr. Breakfast is hopefully going to join us shortly, we need to find out from him how important this regional and international cooperation for Africa is and what it means going forward. We heard Andy Mashaila saying that, a lot has come out from this partnership in a way in terms of the cases that he highlighted, the Thabo Bester case, as well as a number of other cases that he touched on. So now, Dr. Breakfast, I'm told you are on the line once again. Thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Thank you very much for having me. Long time no here.
I know, but there's so much that's been happening, and I wish we had a lot of time to unpack everything that's unfolded in South Africa, not only South Africa, the African continent as a whole. Now, how important is this regional and international cooperation for the African continent?
So first of all, I've not been following the discourse that is framed, which is underway. However, I think the first thing that comes to my mind, one of the gaps is the issue of border management. It needs to be addressed through multilateral and bilateral arguments, because I think we, as a country, we are falling short in terms of addressing that issue. And then the second thing that comes to mind, in my view, is the issue of undocumented immigrants. I think because you are not able to trace the people who are committing crime coming from other countries if they came here illegally. And then I think the other issue that could be addressed, which is also posing a security threat that we have not been able to intercept it, is the issue of the so-called terrorist operations which are said to be active in the country. I think that issue also needs to be addressed. So those are things that could be addressed on a platform of that nature in terms of the Interpol conference in Cape Town.
Now, with regards to the undocumented immigrants and the terrorist operations that are seemingly happening in South Africa, how do you think they need to be addressed realistically? Because the undocumented immigrants has become a big challenge, and is seemingly there isn't a solution that will work for everyone, and thus we see incidences of some organizations stopping people from going into hospitals and clinics and so on. It has become uncomfortable. How do we deal realistically with the undocumented immigration issue and the terrorist organizations that seem to be operating and it's normal, it's business as usual?
Yes, you see, the beauty of the construct of a diplomacy is that diplomacy is a multi-dimensional concept with a multiplicity of functions. So one of the ways and means of dealing with that is through border diplomacy. That could be done by the armed forces, our defense force, through the other armed forces, besides being done at the level, at the political level, whereby, and also the terrorist operations, those issues could be addressed at that level in terms of defense diplomacy, in terms of exchanging information, but that also could feed into SADC and other multilateral forums which are out there in terms of the exchange of information so that these security threats can be intercepted in advance.
Why have we not been able to get it right? The undocumented immigrants issue has been an ongoing crisis for many years. And now, with these terrorist operations that are alleged to be taking place in different parts of the country, why has nothing been done up until now?
The problem is corruption. The second problem is the poor management of borders. And I also don't think that we have shared information with other neighboring states the way we should have. So I think those are the gaps that we need to bridge in terms of addressing this issue. I mean, the issue of, I would say you spoke about it earlier on, xenophobic attacks and so on. I also think that domestically we might need to roll out education to address it as well, so that people understand that the reason why we have these social ills is not because of foreign nationals, but it's because of the scarcity of these economic resources.
Is our intelligence, are they doing enough? Because when it comes to the terrorist operations that are alleged to be happening on the ground on South Africa's soil, where's the intelligence? Where's the intelligence department? What is happening? Security, intelligence. Why do we not see things that are allegedly happening on the ground, but we don't see any reports of people being arrested and cases that really go to court and people are then put in prison?
So the past is still with us. I don't think that we are out of the woods as yet. Remember, one of the things that emerged out of the Zondo commission was the issue of the failure of the intelligence apparatus, because intelligence in this country has tended to be embroiled in the factional battles of the ANC. It has tended to be used in pursuit of political agendas as opposed to intercepting security threats. So we need a intelligence apparatus that is accountable also to the country, which is transparent and so on. So I think those were some of the recommendations that emerged out of that report of Sandy Africa. That's why it was put or subsumed into the presidency now. But I think it's still early days. I don't think that we are out of the woods as yet. And also our crime intelligence also has not been doing well in terms of intercepting security threats, crime, and so on. I think those resources have tended to be deployed into the ANC internal fights.
All right, we need more time for this, and I hope you will come back and join us, and we unpack this even further. Dr. Breakfast, always a pleasure chatting to you. That's Dr. Ntsikelelo Breakfast, Acting Director of the Center for Security, Peace and Conflict Resolution at the Nelson Mandela University, joining us on the line. Our news headlines up next with Jolani Tulongwepe.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Lulu. Good afternoon. Making headlines, gender and governance expert Dr. Ditari Rabela says due to safety concerns, more women will fear to participate as candidates in the forthcoming municipal elections in South Africa. Media Monitoring Africa says cases aimed at silencing investigative journalism focused on exposing corruption in the private and public sectors are increasingly becoming common. And finally, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff says President Donald Trump will chair a large meeting on post-war Gaza in Washington later today. This as Israel pushes ahead with the plan to conquer the territory. I will have details on these and other stories at 1 o'clock.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective. Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Let's kick off with football news. Morocco will face Madagascar in the final of the Total Energies African Nations Championship CHAN. That's Pamuja 2024 on Saturday, after both sides came through dramatic semi-finals on Tuesday. The Atlas Lions, champions in 2018 and 2020, ended Senegal's hopes of back-to-back titles by winning 5-3 on penalties after a tense 1-1 draw in Kampala. The South African Institute for Drug-Free Sport has confirmed that Springbok prop Asenathi Ntlabaganye has not been suspended and would not have been in breach of should he have been selected for the box tour to New Zealand. A Springbok press release confirmed that the two-test tight head prop had provided an adverse analytical finding during testing by the SAIS. And tennis news, Alexander Zverev had to wait to play his first round match at the 2025 US Open. But once he stepped onto the court on Tuesday night in Arthur Ashe Stadium, the German wasted little time. Zverev fought off top-notch tennis at times from Tabilo to reach the US Open second round for the 9th time, moving to 9-1 in the first round.
Yeah, no, it's great to see the love for tennis in New York every single year. I mean, it's almost 1 a.m. and it's a Tuesday, it's not a Saturday night, so thanks for everybody that stayed. I mean, Coco had a fantastic match, so, to be honest, I would have gone home after that match myself. But it's great to start a tournament with a night session on Arthur Ashe Stadium, the biggest stadium that we have in the world, and, I'm looking forward to Thursday already.
The winner of the 2026 Investec South African Open will receive an invitation to the 2026 Masters Tournament and a place on one of the most iconic stages in the game. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please to send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fidel Ngwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege.
So when you think of African music, you think of Kwasa Kwasa, high life music from West Africa, Afrobeat from West Africa, of gospel music or faith music or spiritual music. But when we think of reggae music, we go to the Caribbean, and if it's Africa, we only think about Lucky Dube. Well, I'm here to introduce you to some reggae music from Africa. Salif Keita with Dakan Fair from Mali. And I must say, this one was a real shock for me because I never had imagined Salif Keita on a reggae beat. But listening to him, it just proved to me how versatile he is as an artist because you'd be expecting him to be on that vibe of West Africa, of ballads. But he really proved that he is very versatile, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege. Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Good afternoon. Portugal's largest construction company, Motor Angel, says strong sales in Africa have helped to drive its 20% rise in net profit in the first half of this year, its highest increase ever. The company says its revenues in Africa jumped to 59% to hit just over $1.2 billion, powered by big projects in Nigeria and Angola. Overall sales growth was just 0.5%, weighed down by an 18% drop in Europe. The company says it is now leaning to expansion where demand is its strongest. The Congress of South African Trade Unions' biggest union is threatened to push back if its members are forced to accept early retirement packages, which it called forced retrenchments. Speaking at the National Bargaining Conference on the east of Johannesburg, President of the National Education, Health and Allied Workers Union, NAHAU, Mike Shingange, says his union is not opposed to younger people being employed in the public service, but it must not be at the expense of older and experienced employees. His comments follows National Treasury plans to offer early retirement packages to about 15,000 public servants at a cost of $310 million to attract younger employees into the public service.
This is not about protecting the membership we have. No, it's about the principles.
Oscar Siziba, Executive Head Coverage, Business Banking, Standard Bank, says township businesses play a major role in South Africa's economy. Siziba was speaking at the opening of the inaugural Gasi SME National Pitch Challenge Summit 2025 underway in Durban, in KwaZulu-Natal province. The word Gasi means township. Siziba explains.
Let me be clear, and let us all be clear, that the Gasi economy is not small, it's mighty. It is alive, it is resilient, and it is growing.
Russia has dangled the possibility of building a nuclear power plant in uranium-rich Niger, a vast arid state on the edge of the Sahara Desert that has to import most of its electricity. Niger has historically exported its uranium for further refining in France, but this is changing as the military-led country cuts off ties with the former colonial power. Niger's government nationalized the uranium mining operation operated by French nuclear group Orano in June, which cleared the way for Russia to put itself forward as a new partner. If it is brought to fruition, this would be the first nuclear power project in West Africa. Britain's main trade union is calling for employees to be given seats on boards of companies to shape how artificial intelligence is used in their workplaces. The Trade Union Congress warned that AI is leading to rampant inequality amid widespread anxiety of jobs being replaced, especially among the young. The BC's Conway has the details.
The TUC says that to ensure workers are not left fearing the technology, they should be put on company boards to help shape AI decision-making.
In Nigeria, the dollar will cost you 1,534 naira. Botswana, 13.32. Kenya, 128 shilling 46. And Zambia, 23.31. The BRICS countries in Brazil, $1 there will cost you 5.42. Russia, 80 rubles 47. India, 87 rupees 65. China, 7 yuan 15. And in South Africa, the dollar will cost you 17 rand 62 cents. $1 is trading at 74 pence to the British pound and 85 to the euro. Commodities markets, gold at $3,379 and platinum $1,339 per ounce. Brent crude oil is at $67.32 a barrel. For any business stories you would like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business in Johannesburg, I'm Tabisolo Hoko.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. The KwaZulu-Natal Convention Bureau, in collaboration with Milvest Advisory and the city of Umhlathuze, bring you the 2025 Tourism Investment Forum Africa. As a global platform for local action, the Tourism Investment Africa aims to promote the secondary and tertiary cities and regions as attractive investment and tourism hubs. Be part of the movement transforming tourism in Africa. Join us for the TIFA 2025 from August 27 to 29 at Tembela Venue, Richards Bay, KZN, South Africa. Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
Well, it is 12:42 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Thank you to Tabisolo Hoko with our business news. Now, today on #Africa Update Asks, South Africa's Constitutional Court has dismissed an application by the family of Zambia's former president Edgar Lungu challenging a High Court ruling ordering the repatriation of Lungu's remains to Zambia. Now, we're asking today, what do you make of the ruling by South Africa's Constitutional Court? Let us know your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram @Channel Africa 1, on Facebook @Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes to +2763 406 9126. #Africa Update Ask. And with that, we have a number of comments that have come through. Gabriel Nundwe on Facebook saying, I was wondering how a former state president could be buried in another country. That's good judgment. He must be returned home and rest in Zambia. And then also on Facebook, Hastings David Wandakatulo says, shame to this family. These are just some of the comments that have come through. And if you want to hear your comments read live on air or your voice notes are played on air, just send us your thoughts and your views on all our questions. And today we're asking, what do you make of the ruling by South Africa's Constitutional Court with regards to Zambia's former president Edgar Lungu being repatriated back to his home country?
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
Our South African businessman Colin Mashawana will face off in court against independent South African English language online news publication and weekly print newspaper, The Daily Maverick, and journalist Peter Louis Myburg. Mashawana is seeking an urgent gag order to halt the outlet's reports on alleged corruption tied to him and his foundation. He claims The Daily Maverick's articles are defamatory and aimed at publicly shaming him. Now, the hearing is set to take place in the Gauteng High Court today. And for more on this, we are joined by SABC reporter Horisani Sitole. Horisani, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Afternoon, Lulu.
Now, Horisani, take us back to the beginning of the story, and how it unfolded and why Colin Mashawane is literally going to the courts.
Lulu, it goes back to a few weeks ago where we've had a shocking allegations against the IDT CEO. Here we're talking about Tebogo Malaka, who allegedly tried to bribe the journalist in question that Mashawan is challenging in court, who's Peter Louis Maybeck, of 60,000 rand for him to stop publishing these allegations that we've heard that actually there are allegations that she bought property worth 16 million rand, which of actually a piece of land was where she was supposed she's building a property worth 16 million rand. The allegation stems from that Colin Mashawan, a known businessman and philanthropist in South Africa, has paid twice some money in the construction using his foundation, the Colin Mashawana Foundation. So the challenge comes from there, that he wants the court to stop the publication from publishing future articles on that, and also to pull out some of these articles that have his name on it.
And have the parties involved arrived at the court yet? Is there any indication as to when this is going to happen?
Yes, the matter has been set down for 2 o'clock this afternoon. Then it's in an hour or so from now, we will be sitting there and hearing to the both parties. I mean, we expect the representatives of the publication and the journalist, and also from the Colin Mashawan Foundation representing himself and his foundation, to come and present their arguments in terms of this. We understand that some of the information that are on the document is that he's saying the publication, whatever has been published, has been done to tarnish his name, and then it's defamatory, and then he wants that to be pulled out.
Now, Media Monitoring Africa's William Bird has said this action by Mashawana is a blatant attempt to gag the media. What are your views on this?
Actually, we've seen, I mean, here and there you do get people challenging it, but I think his stance now could be that there's no any court of law that has proven that the allegations are true and all that. So one may have, you're talking about his rights, as in he's exercising it to get the court to decide. But I think it's a very interesting thing. We need to watch and see as to what then the decision will come about. But then the allegations that have been made are very damning, as you can hear, that that's a lot of money that they're talking about. Because it goes to the allegations of he actually benefited from the IDT. We're talking about 60 million rand of extended public works programs, which he was set to manage, and the allegations that the foundation got more than other people who were bidding for the same tender.
It would be interesting to find out if what has happened to whatever those projects were, and if they did come to fruition.
Yes, indeed. There have been actually media reports about the people not having been paid in some of these EPW programs. I mean, the EPW programs are those government projects where they are there for people to work on contracts here and there to try to help in job creation, and also to deal with some of the challenges that like cleaning and all that the country has. So people go and do that. So there have been reports of people not having been paid at some stage.
Well, Horusani, I guess 2 o'clock is just around the corner, so it will be something that will be unpacked later on. Thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update. That's our SABC reporter, Horusani Sithole, joining us on the line.
We are on Open Views Audio Bouquet, Channel 628. The KwaZulu-Natal Convention Bureau, in collaboration with Milvest Advisory and the city of Mhlathuze, brings you the 2025 Tourism Investment Forum, Africa. By positioning these regions for sustainable growth, TIFA helps drive their economic ambitions while providing access to critical capital, networks, and strategic insights on investments in the trade services sector, such as tourism. Join us for the TIFA 2025 from August 27 to 29 at Tembela Venue, Richards Bay, KZN, South Africa. Be part of the movement transforming tourism and infrastructure in Africa. Your window to the continent and beyond. Africa Update, only on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
It is 12:50 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Dozens of undocumented migrants have been arrested during a major raid conducted by the City of Johannesburg's Public Safety Department. The operation, which targets Spaza shops owned by foreign nationals, is part of an ongoing citywide effort to crack down on unregulated businesses in South Africa's Gauteng province. Officials say many of the arrested individuals were unable to produce a valid identification or business permits. Lerato Makola reports.
Johannesburg Public Safety Department says it launched a sting operation on the M1 to enforce the rule of law and ensure public safety. The department says in coming months it will focus on checking taxis, buses and scholar transport vehicles. MMC for Public Safety Mgini Chwaku says the operation is essential to prevent accidents and to keep the roads safe.
This guy was driving on the yellow line. The car does not have a disc. He does not have a license. As you can see now, it's a moving coffin. So the operation of today is Noma Kanjani Manje Namhlanje, #Sesfigi. So this car we're going to impound. We're impounding these cars, by the way, because of non-compliance whatsoever. Even worse now, driving on the yellow lane, which is actually what was one of our focuses as well. So we're taking this car away.
Okay,
so
thank you.
We're just warning all the viewers at home, whoever is driving in the morning. So JMPD is the impounding cars now. So don't drive on the yellow lane.
The team moved to Bruma, where a hectic afternoon unfolded. As undocumented foreigners were apprehended, many were unable to provide the necessary legal documentation to prove their status. This is what they had to say.
Now, where to from here? Because now they are saying that they are taking you to the nearest police station. What are you going to do?
I don't know. I just listen what they do.
Okay, where is your passport? That is what they asked.
Is my wife gonna put in my ID now.
Okay, umama ngiyaqolisa ukubuza owakuphi nendawo umama ongokuzalwa.
She says they want a passport, but her passport is at home, and she's from Zimbabwe, but she does have a passport. She says she still has days left, but they say it doesn't count because it doesn't have an entry stamp showing that she's in South Africa legally. Officials say the operations will continue regularly as part of the city's commitment to uphold the rule of law and protect the safety of its residents. Lerato Makula, SABC News in Johannesburg.
Geopolitical tensions and sluggish global economic growth continue to fuel uncertainty worldwide, making it critical for governments to build resilience to ensure long-term success. This was a key takeaway from the Chandler Good Government Index 2025 Africa Regional launch held in partnership with the National School of Government. The event brought together experts and practitioners from across the continent to unpack what it takes to build high-performing governments in Africa and the steps needed to strengthen them. Bonolo Maribe has more.
The Chandler Good Government Index 2025 regional launch took place in Pretoria under the theme Advancing High-Performance Government in Africa. It ran governance across 120 countries, measured against 7 pillars such as leadership and foresight, robust laws and policies, strong institutions, financial stewardship, attractive marketplace, global influence and reputation, as well as helping people rise. Director of Knowledge at the Chandler Institute of Governance, Dinesh Naidu, highlighted the importance of the index.
The Chandler Good Government Index is a useful tool for policymakers because, first of all, it identifies their success areas. From the index, we can see where are the areas of excellence for different governments. And as we have seen today, there are areas of excellence across the African continent. It's useful for governments to celebrate these and to learn from these and to try to replicate these and expand these. So that is one area. The other is it is a diagnostic tool to help governments quickly identify where are some of their weakest areas. The index can help to prompt and frame conversations, honest conversations about improvements that are needed. And finally, it can help government leaders to prioritize the areas that they want to work on.
Despite Africa facing an array of financial and institutional challenges, several countries, such as Tanzania and Rwanda, have made significant progress, especially in areas of leadership and digitalization. Executive Director at the Institute for Global Dialogue in South Africa, Dr. Philani Mthembu, outlined how the continent can improve further.
African governments have to develop also their own peer review mechanisms. Of course, we have structures like your African peer review mechanism in place, but I think we need to entrench that even further. So I think we have to do a better job at holding ourselves accountable, not to the standards that the world has set, but to the standards that we have set for ourselves. I mean, African governments go to their people with a particular mandate, they go and campaign, and I think we need to do a better job at holding ourselves accountable. So improving monitoring and evaluation, improving consequence management, but also having proper data to understand where we are doing well and where we are doing badly, and therefore how to improve and how to enhance our capabilities.
While the Executive Director of the Chandler Institute of Justice, Ron Chari, says it is important for institutions to uphold integrity.
There are quite a lot of challenges that are being faced. Particularly, I think what we're looking at is more on the processes and systems that we're using within the justice sector. I can give an example of court administration. I think the processes that we're still using are quite manual and paper-based. So we've been working with some governments to see how we can digitize and take advantage of technology and AI to empower those systems and make sure that they work efficiently.
The Chandler Institute of Governance says it remains committed to sharing insights as well as strengthening public institutions through its collaboration with African governments to build a more adaptable and inclusive future. Bonolo Maribe, SABC News, Pretoria.
Nkhanza zokhudza amuna ndi azimayi kapena kuti gender-based violence GBV zikuononga mioyo komanso kuphwasula midzi. Zikuchitika m'manyumba, m'masukulu, malo ogwirira ntchito ndipo kwambiri mwakachetechete. Koma sizikuyenera kupitirira. Mukazimva yankhulani. Ngati mwakhudzidwa funani chithandizo. Chifukwa kusachita chilichonse sikuthandiza. Mverani kuma wireless onse 14 a SABC kuchokera lachitatu pa 23 mwezi uno wa Julai kuti mumve zokambirana, malangizo, masewero, zionesero za maphunziro ndi mafunso okhuza nkhanza za amuna ndi azimayi ndi akatswiri, anthu opulumuka ku nkhanzazi, kukhazikitsa lamulo komanso dziko lonse lokhudzidwa ndi nkhanzazi. Zonsezi pa wireless yomwe mumayikonda ya SABC. Imbirani pa nambala 0800 428 428 kuti munene za nkhanzazi kapena kupeza chithandizo. Nkhanza zokhuza amuna ndi azimayi zimatha ndi inu. Uthenga ukufikani kuchokera ku SABC.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
And just a recap of the main stories that we focused on and highlighted, the 27th Interpol African Regional Conference, which is underway in Cape Town in the Western Cape province of South Africa. We spoke to former Interpol South Africa's ambassador, Andy Mashaila, and we also spoke to Dr. Ntsikelelo Breakfast, the acting director of the Center for Security, Peace and Conflict Resolution at the Nelson Mandela University, just highlighting, translating transnational organized crime that needs to be dealt with and continuously, and also border management as well as undocumented, focusing on undocumented immigrants. This is Dr. Breakfast saying that a lot more needs to be done on this front, as well as terrorist operations allegedly doing what they do best on our home soil. So a lot hopefully to come out of this conference, which is underway from today. Also, Colin Mashawane facing off in court against an independent South African English language online news publication and weekly print newspaper, the Daily Maverick, and journalist Peter Louis Myburg. So a lot coming out of the Africa Update today. Continue with us on our social media platforms, and thank you for joining us. Thank you to our team, our producer Tracy Bumga, technical operator Tato Maporoma, and social media Sfiso Hlope and talent Butelezi. It's been a great day. Let's do this again tomorrow. Bye-bye.